Hey guys, welcome back to Firearms and Fellowship. I'm happy to be joined today by Murry Cathlina from Texas Gun Collectors Association, as well as Nick Combs from the Houston Gun Collectors Association. I'm going to bring those guys in. Say hello, gentlemen.
How are you today, Jeremy?
I'm doing good. Aside from a few little technical issues getting us started today, doing well.
Hi, Nick.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, great.
Good.
Really enjoying the opportunity to be here today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. We have a couple different pistols to talk about today, as well as some upcoming events in October. Nick, yours, the Houston Gun Collectors Association show is the 10th through the 12th. You want to talk a little bit about that show and where people can find out more information about it?
Well, we'll start out with the more information. The most current information you can get will be at HGCA.org on the internet. If you go there, if there's any changes to the dates or times or anything, you'll be able to see that there. The gun show is really our interest in getting back to the origins 75 years ago of HGCA, when the gun shows were really focused on collecting, not so much some of the peripheral things that you find at gun shows today, but focusing on collecting, whatever it is, antiques, CNR items, curio and relic, militaria, and just collectible arms, whether it's an edged weapon, maybe even a suit of armor, anything that would apply itself to the field of arms and armory. So we're really looking forward to getting a big crowd to come visit. This is a vast departure from our previous gun shows in the last few years. And again, we're trying to get back to our roots, collecting.
And I know you guys have been working hand in glove with TGCA. They have a similar approach, and I think it works really well. So I'm glad that you guys are doing that. Murry, you guys, your show is the 17th of October in Denton. You want to tell people a little bit more about that, where they can find some information, and then talk a little bit about how TGCA is different, because when you walk into a TGCA show, it is different.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. And I wanted to start by saying that the Houston Gun Collectors and Texas Gun Collectors share a number of members. So some of the same folks that you'll see at one show, you'll also see at the other show. So, and we're always happy to help other collecting organizations. And I think we promoted the HGCA show at our spring show in April in Denton. And we hope that they have a great turnout in Houston in October. I guess October sounds like gun show month to me. I think we're going to change it from October to gun show month. But yeah, the Texas Gun Collector Show in October we're celebrating our 75th anniversary. This is 75 years of Texas Gun Collectors Association. And through that period of time, similar to other organizations, we've had ups and downs. We've tried to stay true to the idea of having mostly all collectible weapons at our show, be it guns or knives and other types of weapons. We do allow some items that are part of the, I guess, what we consider the tools of the trade. It could be leather holsters, scabbards, things like that. But we try and, in fact, ours cutoff is curio and relic, which is generally 50 years or older. So while a number of the guns at our show will be antique, we're also encouraging some of the younger collectors that like the curio and relic style arms. And consequently, we have started drawing some of that group into our shows. So this October, the show starts on Friday afternoon for the public. It starts at noon. Members will get in at 8 a.m. to set up and get their displays put together. We currently have 24 tables of just display items that compete for awards. The awards are given out just prior to our auction Saturday evening. But it's a real educational benefit for folks. Most of these displays have won awards at a variety of shows across the country and have some of the finest weapons that a person will be able to see in their lifetime. So it's worth the price of admission just to come to see the displays. So we encourage people to do that. Saturday night, we have an auction where we'll sell a number of consigned items. So it's a fun time. A lot of the folks that come to our show say it's the most fun show that they go to. So we encourage people to come and participate in the fun.
Yeah, it is. I think if I had to pick just one, that's the one I go to. Of course, it's a little closer to me than some of the others. Yeah, the auction is a blast, and I've told people the spring show, the collection of the engraved Colts that were there were just mind blowing. I mean, it's unreal. You just don't see. You're not going to see that anywhere else. So I encourage everybody to check out TGCA and HGCA this year if you're able to go, and if not, check out the organizations because there's a lot of benefits available to members, such as the biannual magazine that TGCA does, and of course this year you guys celebrating your 75th, put out the big coffee table book, and yeah, really high quality magazines. These aren't the magazines you pick up at the grocery store. These are really beautiful photos, well-written articles. So yeah, those right there are worth the price of admission to being a member. So yeah, I encourage everybody to check that out for sure.
Well, as long as I'm plugging TGCA, and speaking of the book,
Yeah.
this book was published in October of last year, and it's 362 pages of some of the finest guns on the planet. And I'll give the viewers just a sneak peek at a few of the guns. And since I can't see what I'm looking at, I'm just going to assume that every page I turn to is going to be some of the finest firearms on the planet.
Yeah.
And this book, I think if a person wanted to just purchase this book, it could cost easily $80 to $100. But
Yeah.
it is complimentary with a membership. So $60 membership gets a copy of the Fine and Historic Arms Annual. It gets free admission to our gun shows. It gets our 2 annual magazines every year. And it's well worth the price of admission.
Yes,
You can go to tgca.org and go to the membership tab and just fill out the form and put in your credit card information and join.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, speaking of price of admission, TGCA this year is allowing some of the other gun clubs to come to the show for free, which I think is just a wonderful idea. And I hope people take you up on that.
Yes, if you are a member of any other gun club, and that includes NRA, of course, HGCA, Colt collectors, Winchester collectors, Sharps collectors, any other gun club, all you have to do is present your membership card for any other gun club, and that will get you free admission into our show. We're not interested in the $10 admission fee at the door. We're more interested in getting good quality collectors in the door. So all you have to do is show your membership card, and we'll get you free admission in.
Absolutely, that's great. And the facility there is great. The MC Suites hotel where you guys do your show, it's all right there. You can get a room. The show's there, the auction's there, all the gatherings are right there. So it's a great event, and I can't wait. I can't wait to go this year.
Great. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah. So, Dan, let's talk about you guys brought a couple of firearms to talk about today. Let me pull up these photos here for you, Murry.
Okay.
My first real experience seeing these was at the spring show. I probably glanced at them at maybe Wanamaker's or something like that, but you told me a bit about these palm pistols, and I haven't seen a lot about this on YouTube, so I thought this would be a great topic for you to talk about.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and this is one of the areas that I really enjoy collecting. And the big, broad, general category would be called curiosa. And I would define that as an odd, interesting or odd or unusual design of and typically curiosa is pocket pistols as well. And so you might see in that category knuckle dusters, palm pistols, knife pistols, and a variety of other unusual style weapons. Palm pistols is a term that is generally means it's a pocket pistol that could easily be concealed in the palm of your hand. And while this is not a collection of all the different types of palm pistols that are known, this is just a kind of a representation of a few different styles. And if you want, I'll go through and give you a brief description of what each one is.
Yeah, that would be great.
So I guess I'll start with actually the center bottom. It is the smallest one as far as the circumference of the round part. That is one of the first ones, and it was patented by Jacques Turbiot in 1882 in France. And he produced a number of them, and it became known that they were selling pretty well in Europe. And so Minneapolis Firearms Company started making them. They licensed to make them in the U.S., and they started making them in 1890. So the lower left one, which you'll see is slightly larger in diameter than the bottom center one, is a Minneapolis Firearms Company Protector. So that was the name they gave it, was Protector. And it's 32 caliber center fire, 32 short. It shoots, has 7 round capacity. And those were only made from 1890 to 1892. And they made about 3,000 of them before Peter Finnegan, owner of Chicago Arms Company, acquired the patent. So in 1892, he started making what is now known as the Chicago Palm Pistol, Chicago Arms Company. And the center left, upper left, and the far right upper corner in the box, those 3 are all Chicago Firearms. And they're just 3 different variations of a Chicago. So obviously, center left is with with pearl scales. Which you see a few with the pearl, not that many. The upper left is a full blue, and that's probably one of the most scarce variations. Most of them were nickel, and the reason for that is because they were carried in pockets, and with perspiration, blue did not last very long. Nickel would hold up better. And then the one in the upper right corner in the box, the scarcity of that one is it is brand new in the box, and it's unfired. All the parts appear to be completely unused, and so you just don't see them often in that kind of condition. The two in the center, the very center, and the upper middle are both called CS Shattuck, and the brand name that Shattuck gave to those are Invisible Defender. Some of those that are made in that style have the Invisible Defender marking on them. These two do not have, so it's just a couple of different variations. The top one is a 22 caliber. The middle one is a 32 caliber. Both are rimfire. And similar to the other palm pistols shown, they fit right in the palm of your hand. As you can see on the box lid, it shows kind of how they are intended to be held. So kind of the same way, but the Invisible Defender name, I think, is kind of interesting because, yeah, you conceal it in the palm of your hand. The only thing sticking out is the barrels, the barrel cluster. And now the most scarce gun in the photo is the bottom right-hand gun. I don't even know a whole lot about it. A fellow collector told me that they're referred to as a turtle gun, and I think it's pretty obvious to see why that would be called a turtle gun. It has what appear to be appendages similar to the legs of a turtle sticking out around the side of it. It's believed to have been made in Japan in around 1892. So it was made contemporary with many of the others on the page or in the photo, but made in Japan, where I assume they were probably trying to work around the licensing or the patent for the others.
Yeah. One question I can see on the two on the left side, left top, have a little lever in the front under the barrel or above the barrel. Is that some sort of safety mechanism?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, and the plunger on the backside, which operates the mechanism, it won't allow the cylinder to spin if that lever on the front is not depressed.
Okay.
Which basically renders the mechanical function inoperable.
Okay. Very neat collection.
Thank you.
Very neat.
Yeah.
So, you said they started making these in the U.S. in 1890s.
Yes, yeah. Minneapolis Firearms made them for 2 years in 90 to 92 before Peter Finnegan acquired them. And interesting story that Peter Finnegan contracted with the Ames Sword Company. Ames is very well known for producing swords during the Civil War period.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of swords made during that period are marked by Ames Sword Company. Peter Finnegan contracted with them to make 15,000 palm pistols for use in the World's Columbia Exposition, which was also known as the Chicago World's Fair. And he was supposed to have them done in time for the 1893 World's Fair, but he failed. Peter Finnegan sued Ames Sword Company. The end result was they settled, and Ames Sword Company took control of the inventory. So all of a sudden, they were now the proud owners of 12,800 palm pistols, which they sold and marketed. But what's interesting about that is the box in this photo shows the Chicago Arms Company label. Somewhere during the process of selling those arms, I guess Ames decided, we ought to have our name on there somewhere. They were all manufactured with the name Chicago Arms Company, and the patents all showed for Chicago. So what they did was they applied a label on top of the box that had the Ames Sword Company as the manufacturer. And I think the last photo I sent you this morning has a box that has a partially removed label. And I don't know if you have the ability to show that. There you go. Lower left-hand corner, Ames Sword Company, Chickpea.
Okay.
Yeah, so this label is kind of funny. This box shows both partial label of each of the companies. And so I thought it was kind of interesting. Somebody went to try and peel. I guess they saw there was something behind it, so they wanted to peel off and see what was behind it. But you get a chance to see both of their labels in this image.
Yeah, I would imagine that the packaging for these is pretty hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, boxes are very scarce. With most all of the antique collectible arms, the box is about 40 to 50 times more scarce than the firearm itself, maybe more than that.
Yeah, I'm sure. That is cool. Let me slide over to these other pictures that you sent. Kind of shows the inner workings. I can get it open.
Yeah, that image just shows with the lid off of it, and it shows the radial style cylinder. Some people call it a turret style cylinder, but the cartridges go in the middle, and so the lead projectile is pointing out like a wheel design, like a wagon wheel almost. The very center, you see part of it's open, and then it's got kind of well, that's the hammer in the very center there. It's a double action only, so when you squeeze the plunger, which is shown on the bottom of this photo, it rotates the cylinder, and at the same time it's drawing the hammer back. And so at the same time as the cylinder gets lined up with the barrel, then the hammer releases and fires. So it's a double action only design.
Okay. And how heavy of a trigger is that? I would imagine it's substantial.
Well, since you're using the palm of your hand, so you're using grip strength, and it's so most people's grip strength, you can feel resistance on it, but it's not, you don't have to squeeze real hard to get them to fire. Interestingly enough, they have a somewhat fragile design, and it's not recommended. Of course, with many firearms, it's not recommended to dry fire. But what happens with these guns is the mainspring will shatter almost like glass if it's dry fired. They shipped them with a piece of leather material in between the hammer and that circular inner part of the pistol that would cushion the hammer, and that reduced the percussion effect on the spring, and that would prevent the spring from breaking. So the instructions that came with it said to remove that prior to firing, but then replace that piece of leather after use and store it with that piece of leather in place, so that if anybody does dry fire it, it won't break the mainspring.
Wow, that is interesting.
Yeah, you find them today. You find them fairly regular with a broken mainspring.
Yeah. And is there anybody that is making parts for these today, or is it are you just scrapping out the old ones?
It's interesting that I found on the internet a gentleman who had acquired the inventory from a gunsmith who had made a few. I bought 3 extras from him so that I would have them handy, and I have a gunsmith that I use to install them. He has also made springs for me, and it's funny because the first time I talked to him about making a spring, he said, "Yeah, I make them out of garage door spring." So he would cut their. If you go to the next image, you can see the inside of the pistol and the curvature of the mainspring. And so he would just cut a section of a coil from a garage door spring and then tool it into the shape needed to go into these pistols.
Okay.
The only parts that I know of that are available that are not new, either new old stock or parted out from another firearm, is there are the side plates available. They're made out of gutta percha, which is kind of the forerunner to rubber. You could see those in the several of the firearms in the first photo that we looked at had those. Yeah, in here you can see that rounded spring that's kind of starts center left and it curves up and around to the right. And so that's the spring that is likely to break when it's dry fired.
Okay.
But this shows the cylinder removed and it shows the double action inside. And it's a very unique design. It's the Ames Sword Company sold all of their inventory. They finished selling it in 1910. And interesting that no one has built this style of pistol since then. I guess too many new designs that are preferred to this, but other than some miniature arms manufacturers, no one else has made these.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question: is when did they stop making them?
Yeah, so the last ones supposedly were made in 1897, so that all of them are antique by date of manufacture, which is what you go by rather than date of sale. But some of them sold by Ames as late as 1910.
Okay.
And so the cartridge on the left goes to the Chicago Arms Company palm pistol. It is a 32 rimfire, extra short. On the right is for the Minneapolis Arms Protector, and it is a 32 center fire, extra short. Interesting to note that there is a size and difference in the casings.
Yes.
And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but the rimfire will not fit in the center fire cylinder.
Okay.
Now the center fire will fit. It's smaller, obviously, so it will fit, but it almost falls through the cylinder of the Chicago Arms Company.
Okay.
So they, I think, might have been done that way intentionally to prevent, the use of the wrong ammo in the wrong gun.
Okay. Nick, have you run across any of these down in your neighborhood?
Occasionally, 20 years ago, HGCA, you would see a few of these, this style pistol, but I haven't seen any in probably 20 years.
Yeah. It's yeah, like I said, the first time I'd really gotten a chance to take a close look at them was at the spring show in Denton. So that's another good thing about that show. You're going to see some stuff that you might not see anywhere else.
Oh yeah, and then this is just another image of the two of them side by side to show the size difference. There is a length difference also, but wouldn't impact their ability to fit within the cylinder. But the diameter difference is what's most notable.
Okay.
I did have just a little bit more information about the Shattuck, the two in the top center of that original image. If it's possible to go back to that, I wanted to share. I think it's kind of interesting. So the design for those two guns, the original design was patented in 1905 by a pretty familiar name in the firearms industry. His name was O.F. Mossberg. Oscar Mossberg. And yeah, he patented that design in 1905. He worked for a number of different firearms manufacturers. He immigrated to the U.S. in 1886 and first started with Ivor Johnson. And then he went to work for the C.S. Shattuck company. And then from there, he went to work for J. Stevens Arms, and most everyone is familiar with Stevens Arms. And then in 1914, he left there to go to work for a machine gun manufacturer by the name of Marlin Rockwell. And he worked there for a couple of years until they went out of business after World War I. And so that was when he decided he worked for enough firearms companies that he was just going to strike out on his own. And he started O.F. Mossberg and Sons in 1919. And in 1920, the first gun that they manufactured is called a Mossberg Brownie. Well, the Brownie is a 4-shot pistol that operates largely off of his original 1905 patent for that 4-barrel invisible defender. So if you look at and I don't own a Mossberg Brownie, that's too new for me. 1920. I mean, that's almost modern. But
Yeah.
if you look at the two firearms, the Mossberg Brownie and the CS Shattuck Invisible Defender, you can see where they were built largely off the same patent.
Okay. Yeah, that is interesting. You know, I collect a lot of earlier 22s, and Mossberg had some. They had a lot of different designs. I'll put it that way. Yeah, that's some cool stuff. Now, I'm sure that ammo is just as scarce. Do you get to shoot these very often? Or
I have never fired one. It's interesting. A fellow collector that I talk to occasionally shoots everything. And he asked me about shooting. He wanted to buy some of my collectible ammo to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I sent him a link to one of those center fire cartridges that was for sale on Gunbroker. And I said, there's one for you. If all you got to do is be the high bidder. And I don't recall exactly. I think it ended up selling for $108.
Yeah.
So I don't know I don't think he won it. I'm sorry. Let me silence this. I don't think he won it. So I don't know that he's been able to fire one yet.
Okay. Yeah, that's a kind of an interesting thing in the collecting world. There's some people that don't shoot their collection at all, and some people that do, and I think it's I don't know. We've had conversations on here before about the differences in collecting and gathering. I'd like to get y'all's opinion on that, or if you could just touch on that a bit. What is the difference? And just what you guys think about collecting and what a collector is. Nick, why don't you go first?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I really haven't given it much thought. Hoarding, collecting, enthusiast. I prefer the collecting. It sounds a little more elegant. But I think a collector might differentiate themselves in that they focus on certain types, calibers, manufacturers, whatever. In my opinion, I think that would be a collector. A gatherer, they see something and they like it, they go get one. And an enthusiast, hey, that's a new design. I want to play with that. So that's all the thinking I can do on the topic.
Yeah. There's and I think as a person, maybe as they start, they may start as one and then evolve into the other. But Murry, what's your take on that topic of conversation?
Well, my opinion is, I think I guess I'll even give my own personal story is like a lot of collectors, I think a lot of them start as accumulators, or that's what I call the beginning stage. They like firearms. Maybe they hunted, did a little bird hunting or deer hunting or target shooting. And so they like firearms. And they see something that is unusual or appealing to them, so they buy it. And they, see something else, maybe completely and totally unrelated, and they like it, so they buy it. And at that point, they're just accumulating guns. And as Nick said, without any specific direction. And usually it takes some amount of time for them to realize either what it is that they like the most, that is, what appeals to them the most, Sometimes it's through education. They realize that they've acquired something that is fairly unique, and that kind of triggers something, no pun intended, in their collecting mind that says it is unique and I like it for that reason. And maybe it also affects the value of it, and so they start collecting a specific make and model based on some kind of intrinsic value that they believe it has to them. Some collectors inherit their collection. We're at a point where most collectors today, a lot of them at least, they inherited a collection to begin with, and so that kind of steers them in a direction based on that inheritance. Unfortunately, there's a lot of other collectors that their children don't care anything about it, and so if they inherited the collection, it would just go to auction or to a pawn shop or or who knows what. But
Yeah.
I agree with Nick. Generally, someone that collects a specific make and model, and has more knowledge than the average person on that specific make and model.
Yeah. Well, I bring that up in part is to point out to people that you don't have to be a collector to join one of these organizations like
Oh,
TGCA
no.
or HGCA and go to the shows. Uh, all people are welcome. So don't let the name of the organization deter you from coming. Um, the other thing I would say on that is that by going to these shows and joining these organizations, they are full of knowledge. And so when you go to the shows, don't be afraid to ask questions, because I promise you, you're going to run into more guys that want to talk to you about that subject until your ears bleed than somebody who's going to brush you off. So that was just kind of the point I wanted to bring across with that question. And yeah, it's just it's interesting to hear what people think about that. So
Well, one of the things I believe TGCA does, as well as HGCA, and that is the purpose of the organization is to really educate and preserve. And that includes people who can't afford a collection. There are a lot of our members that just come to the meetings to hear what we're going to talk about. And as with TGCA, we have actually, they're members of TGCA as well. So we share them. We have world class, and I mean that in every sense of the word, collectors, people who can afford high condition, rare arms, whether it's an antique crossbow or a battle axe from 700 years ago, whatever. And they'll give a talk, and you'll find people get interested in that topic. But you can come handle the things. It's like having an open museum. So come to the meetings, join an organization if you're at all interested in arms collecting, and you don't have to be a collector. Just come enjoy the folks that are there. You'll meet people from all walks of life, and you'll be able to exchange ideas. And if you have a weird question, I guarantee you will find somebody that will answer it for you.
yeah, and that's another point. These organizations are not a local thing. They don't have to be. Both organizations have members from all over the U.S. and probably even outside of the U.S. as well. So yeah, just because it says Texas gun collectors or Houston gun collectors, anybody can join.
Yeah, that's right. We have members from 46 states and 7 foreign countries. So pretty diverse. And at our shows, we have people that travel from California and New York and everywhere in between to come attend our shows.
Yeah. And I also encourage younger people to join these groups too, because like I said, there's so much knowledge within these groups that needs to be retained and passed down to the next generation. And this is for all the gun groups that I talk to. They are all fighting this right now. Is the age gap. And
Oh.
I was talking to somebody from RSA, the Remington Society, and there seems to be a resurgence in interest among younger people in actually going to shows and meetings and gathering in person versus, you know, this sort of social media spike that we've been on, I'd say probably the past 20 years. So yeah, hopefully that we can get some younger people into these groups, and that's one of the reasons that we're on YouTube right now talking about this, is to reach out to the younger generations and bring them in as well. If you guys have anything to say about that.
We definitely need some younger people because our average age is, well, it's too high to mention on the internet.
Yeah.
You know, my experience is that over the past 15, maybe 20 years, the internet has probably drawn a fair number of people from gun shows because you can go on to many of the internet sites, gun sites, and buy a gun and never leave your living room or wherever you do your computering at. But what I think people are missing, they can go on there and they can buy a nice gun. And sorry about that. Maybe I should silence that phone. They can go on the internet and buy a nice gun and have it delivered either to them directly or to a local gun shop. And they can enjoy it. But what they are missing out on is the social aspect of attending a gun show. And I think that is the social media where people should be buying guns. As you said earlier, I mean, there's a lot to learn. There's no substitute for talking to the owner of that gun and learning everything that he might know, not necessarily just specifically about that particular gun, but about that make and model. It really is an educational experience to buy a gun at a gun show, as opposed to buying it off the internet, where it's just a click of a button, a black and white transaction. You use your credit card and you're done. For those collectors who buy guns on the internet, I encourage them to go to a gun show, especially a collectible gun show, and talk to the dealers of those kinds of guns and get more knowledge from doing it.
Yeah, I agree. And another aspect that I think is different, you know, when you set out to purchase a firearm on the internet, you know exactly what you're looking for, and you go looking for that. For me, I'm more of in the gatherer group, as we were talking about earlier. When I go to a show or to a different store or something like that, I enjoy finding something that maybe I wasn't looking for, but that pops out and surprises me. I was in a store the other day and looked at the rack, and this is a Savage 6A, early semi-automatic, click-clack gun, gill gun, as they're sometimes referred to. And when I saw it on the rack, I almost didn't even bother to look at it because it was so nice. I figured it had probably been refinished. But this is an all original Savage. So these were probably 30, I think 37 to maybe 45. Somebody will correct me on that. But yeah, the bluing that they used back then has really held up well over the years. So yeah, there's some of that goes into going to the shows and maybe running into something that you didn't know you wanted.
Exactly. Yeah. Some people ask me at a gun show, so what are you looking for? And I usually tell them, I don't know until I find it.
Yeah.
You know, you see something, you go, oh, look at that. That's neat.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Now, Murray, I know you said you might be short on time, so if you need to bounce out, just let us know. Nick, you sent some photos. Let me get those queued up here.
yeah, thanks for having me join. Great to visit with you both, and I am going to cut off here if I can figure out how to.
I will get you out of here. Murray,
Okay.
thank you so much for joining us today. We'll gather up again and do another one of these or two or three before the show in October. And yeah, it's been a blast learning about the palm pistols, and we appreciate you taking the time to visit with us and give us some knowledge.
You're very welcome. You two guys have a great afternoon.
All right.
Adios.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Nick. Let's see here. Now you said you were going to be talking about 1911 gallery pistols. Is that
Practice pistols, yes.
right? Okay. Yeah.
It's not where I need to start.
Okay.
Let's cycle through these and we'll find one and we'll start there. Oh, whoop. Back up. Back up. That's not it either. I thought we passed. All right. Oh, that's it right there.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start there. Now,
Yeah.
I want to preface this with a couple of comments. Why did they build the gallery practice pistol for the 1911? Well, in general, the military had been looking for firearms that they could train with that didn't present as much of a shock.
Mhm.
The report, the recoil, that would allow the people that they're trying to train to focus on the marksmanship and the mechanics of operating the firearm, regardless of what it was. And in 1890, the Navy had 100 Remington rolling blocks converted to 22.
Mhm.
Now, uh, it was really there to introduce new recruits to marksmanship. It was there because you didn't need a full-blown firing range for a full-size caliber round. You could shoot it at a short range. And that's why they're called gallery pistols, because you could actually, very much like a state fair where you had a shooting gallery. It's a short range, maybe 5, 7, 10, 25 yards. You could build these under the stadium seats in a sports arena. You could have them set up in a National Guard armory. You didn't have to worry about blowing a hole in the wall and over penetrating the National Guard armory or wherever it is you were shooting.
Yeah.
And one important factor was the cost of ammunition.
Mhm.
The cost of a subcaliber, 22 and 25 are both considered, was about 1/7 the cost of a full size round.
Yeah.
So from the Navy's first attempt, which didn't really go too well, there were a couple of follow-ons that the Army undertook, and those were the Krag, the 1898 Krag. In about 1905, they had about 800 converted to 22 for training. Unfortunately, this conversion took place about the same time that the Krag was being phased out and the Springfield 03 was being phased in.
Mhm.
Well, the Springfield 03 also got adapted for a 22. So there were several thousand of those made, I guess. So basically, the need for the 22 gallery pistol kind of just grew out of the fact that the military was already interested in being able to take advantage of the three advantages of the smaller caliber: the cost, the size of the range, and the ability to better train recruits.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm going to talk about here from here on out are really two separate development efforts. One of them undertaken by Springfield, the other undertaken by Colt. So the
Okay.
first picture that you see here is one that was made by Springfield, and it was started in 1913. Now, I do want to mention that what I consider five of the top firearms design people in the US at the time: John Browning, John Thompson, David Williams, Julian Hatcher, and John Guerin, played a part in this development.
Okay.
Not necessarily hands-on, but they gave advice. They may have done some sketches and drawings and said, hey, try this, because adapting the model 1911 to a 22 is a very difficult task, as I'll illustrate as we carry on here. Now, the picture you have is the first type. And in 1913, John Thompson, who is, I believe he was a major or maybe lieutenant colonel at the Ordnance Department, sent a letter to Springfield saying, hey, the Ordnance Department has adopted the model 1911, and we need a training pistol.
Yeah.
And so Springfield, in June of 13, began the development. And within 90 days, they had produced what you see on the screen. It's a standard 1911 in every way, with two exceptions. The
Mhm.
first exception is that it used an adapter cartridge. You can see that in the center between the 22 and the 45.
Oh, okay.
That's an adapter. It goes into a standard 1911 magazine. You insert the 22 into the adapter cartridge.
Okay.
Let's go to the next slide. Well, let's try to find the next slide.
Yeah.
That's not it. The next slide will be three barrels,
Okay.
three pictures of barrels. Keep going. Keep going.
I think we got to go back the other way.
Okay,
I got these all out of order.
there we go. That's it. Okay, what you're looking at is the barrel that is inserted into a standard 1911 and the adapter. And you can see the adapter sticking out of the end of the barrel and a 22 sticking out of the end of the adapter. I just wanted to give you some idea of the scale.
Mhm.
But it's an oddly shaped barrel because the requirement for the 1911 was it was supposed to function and physically be as similar to the 1911 as possible.
Mhm.
So they had to reduce weight. And one way they did that was to manufacture this barrel with this extreme machining done to it. But in every other regard, the manual of arms for the 1911 was the same as the Gallery practice pistol. By August, they'd had enough of them made that the Army could start testing. And hold on just a second, I got to fight the cat here. Go away. Go away. There were some notable exceptions to the functionality in that the slide did not reciprocate. The 22 just didn't have the oomph to push the slide back and chamber another round.
Mhm.
So that had to be done manually. But in every other regard, it functioned like the 1911. Didn't quite have the recoil, and there were four very serious problems. Sometimes it wouldn't feed, sometimes it wouldn't fire, sometimes it wouldn't extract, and sometimes it wouldn't eject.
Mhm.
This resulted in the first type really being discontinued around 1915. There were 25 of these units ordered, and this is one of the 25.
Okay.
So there aren't very many examples, and in fact, I've had some major collectors mention to me when they see it that this is the only one they've ever seen outside of, I think there may be one at Springfield, and there are probably a couple others in museums.
Okay.
So these got tested. They weren't doing too well. And in 1914, let's go to another. Oh, yeah, let's go to another slide here that may. Let me see if I can tell you which one it is.
Okay.
The
I
next
guess.
one would be that's it right there. There we go. You can see what the muzzle looks like with the
Mhm.
offset barrel, and that's so that you can use the firing pin of the standard 1911. You don't have to change the firing pin or the rim fire. So
Okay.
this moves the cartridge down far enough that the firing pin hits the rim.
Okay. That's interesting.
And yeah, the next one is it should be some parts laid out on the table, and that looks to be it. Yes. And what I've done is the only non-standard parts are the two pieces down at the very bottom, the barrel and the cartridge adapter. Everything else is standard 1911.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty remarkable design. Man, it just didn't work.
Yeah. That's
Um,
definitely a challenge to get a full size 1911 to operate like that. And I was
right.
just point out to people, the military has used 22 for training purposes for a long time. We've talked about several training rifles on this channel, the H&R Rising, um, the Rising, uh, the um, the Savage NRA match, um, and even the Savage 6A that I showed earlier was used in British cadet training. So yeah, a 22 long rifle is the military has tried to use that many times to cut down on costs. So
Well, pretty much universally, the only country that I have found that I cannot find a 22 training firearm is Japan.
oh really?
Yeah, Russia, Germany, England. England converted some of their SMLEs to 22. German converted Lugers and K98s to 22, and they manufactured some without a conversion kit, but straight into 22. So just about every major arms manufacturing country rather, has used the 22
Yeah.
for the same reasons.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, this particular, the Type 1, was discontinued development in 1915 because in 1914, a gentleman out in California, let's see if we can find that picture. That's it. This is the Type 2, the second type made by Springfield. And it has some rather unique characteristics, but Mr. Carl sent a working prototype to Springfield, and they tried it out. It worked, but not quite well enough. So they made some modifications. They changed things needed, and eventually, by about 1915, the middle of 15, they had 5 units shipped to Fort Sill, the School of Musketry. And after those were tested, they found it had the same problems that the first type had, which were failure to feed, fire, extract, eject.
Hmm.
So, now one thing I would like to point out is the magazine you see there is a 22 caliber magazine. It is not a standard 45 caliber. It actually is outside is 45, but it's
Hmm.
been cut down and a 22 caliber magazine has been welded inside.
Okay.
Now, uh, let me see maybe the next picture. Yeah, let's go to the next picture here.
Let's see if we can find what we're looking for.
It's here, I know. Not that one. Not that one. Well,
Is this it?
let's one more. I bet you one more will get it. There it is, right there.
Okay.
But what you're looking at is the inside of what would normally be the slide.
Mm-hmm.
But what you see on top there is a bolt that fits inside the pseudo slide. This part goes onto the top of a standard 1911 frame. In this case, the barrel is an integral part of the slide, if you will. And this bolt is all that reciprocates. Now, did this work? Oh, yes. Yes. And it got favorable reviews. It was tested up to about May of 1918. And World War I took over the uh, production of items at Springfield. They were making '03 rifles and very few other things. Springfield just concentrated on rifles.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately after the cessation of World War I, Julian Hatcher, who was in the Ordnance Department at this time, sent a letter to Springfield and said, "Hey, I ordered 25 of these in 1915. Where are they?" And about 6 months later, he got 25 of them, and they were serial numbered 1 through 25. Now, that's important in just a second
Okay.
when I show you this other stuff. Um, Now this is 1919. Let's go back go back. Nope, the other way. Well, this shows you pretty much the pieces that make up the second type. There's the
Okay.
frame, the magazine. Of course, the magazine is specific for this gun. Then you see the bolt and the slide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back one more. There we go. There's a picture of the muzzle. You'll notice that the slide is weird,
Yeah.
and that is to keep the weight in balance of the pistol. Because the barrel is hogged out of the inside of this integral slide, they needed to cut some weight down. It's a
Okay.
very Art Deco looking pistol when you see it in person.
Yeah, man.
Now, back and forth between the Ordnance Department and Springfield, these went out for testing to the infantry, the artillery, and the cavalry. The cavalry found that it increased the accuracy in their training. The infantry was kind of pleased with it. It did help. The artillery, no interest whatsoever, recommended against it, said it was a waste of money. And in fact, the 25 units that went out to the field had sufficient problems, and they went back and forth between the field units and Springfield to get repaired or modified. And eventually it got to working sort of okay. Let's go back one more. I've got to figure out what the next slide is. Well, that's not it, but no, we're going the wrong way now.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, let's go one more. No, that's not it either. No, but let me see here. Well, I think we've already talked about that one. But what I want to say is that this continued until around 1924. So this has been in development from 1915 to 1924, 9 years, and it still didn't quite make it. What happens next is Colt, who's been aware of the requirement for a gallery pistol for some time, has developed 2 prototypes, but they won't give them to the Army until the Colt patents are approved. That
Mm-hmm.
took about 6 months, and about the middle of 1923 or so, there were some prototypes available for the Army to put their hands on, and that leads us to the next chapter. Let's go back the other way. I'm looking for. No, that's not him. Keep going.
Let's see.
That is not it either.
Yeah, that's the ace.
Well, that should be the service model Ace. which is different.
Okay.
So that's not him. That's not him. That's him right there.
Okay.
That's
So
a service model ace.
So this is like the
No,
third.
excuse me. That's the ace.
Oh, okay.
This was tested by the Army from about 1922 to about 1930. And again, it went back and forth.
Hmm.
They wanted this, they wanted that. They had to repair some things. But what they came back with eventually, Colt anticipated a large military contract. And what really transpired was that the military was interested, but they wouldn't commit to buying tens of thousands of them.
Hmm.
What they did do was they bought 864.
Okay.
Total production of the Ace was 10,935. Most of those went to the civilian. So when you see an Ace, the probability is you're looking at a civilian version. Now, this particular one I thought was civilian, but I got a letter on it and it says it was sent to the Coast Guard in 1934.
Oh, okay.
So this is one of the 864 that were purchased by the military, much to the chagrin of Colt, which had wanted a large military contract.
Hmm.
So the development of the Ace kind of soured Colt with regard to trying to build a pistol for the Ordnance Department, military.
Yeah.
However, the Ordnance Department also learned that there was a modification to the Ace that incorporated uh, David Williams, also known as Carbine Williams, the
Hmm.
guy that helped to develop the M1 carbine.
Yeah.
It's called a floating chamber. Okay,
Hmm.
let's see if we can find that one.
Yeah. My viewers will be familiar with the floating chamber.
Oh, okay, very good.
Rifles
Uh,
shot. Let's.
let's see if we can find. There should be a picture. Well, that's kind of that's it. That's the service model. Wait a minute, let me make sure. No, I'm sorry. That's the internals of the Ace. They look very similar, obviously. Now
See.
you need to go back. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, no, maybe. I'm sorry. I'm giving you bad direction here.
That's all right. We'll get there.
Oh, there. Yeah,
That's that one.
not that one. Here we go.
This one.
This is the internals. It's
Okay.
This is in many regards a standard 1911. The spring is lightened up a little bit, and you'll see the barrel and the magazine is special. But
Mhm.
again, the frame, the 1911 frame, is standard.
Yeah.
If you go one more, I think I've got a picture of yeah, that's it, the barrel with
Oh,
the floating chamber removed.
yeah.
Now, the purpose of the floating chamber was to help emulate recoil.
Hmm.
And I fired both the Ace and the service model Ace side by side. And the recoil is, nah, not really. It's a little more, but it's nowhere near a 45.
Okay.
So now what's interesting about the service model was in 1935, Colt was able to get a patent for the service model Ace, which is very different than the Ace. The service model Ace, Colt wasn't really going to produce it. However, the Ordnance Department, after a couple of years, persuaded them to go ahead and tool up for production. And what they did was try to get the Ordnance Department to accept for the Army the service model Ace as a standard issue. and both in 1938 and again in 1940, the Chief of Staff, the Army, said no. Next came what I think is what the military, you adapt and overcome.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was they added all the parts that make up the service model ACE to the catalog. I don't have the number in front of me, but they added all the parts in there. So you could order the parts for it. You could also order it as an assembly.
Okay.
So in fact, they added it to official documentation. This allowed individual units using unit funds. These weren't funded by the Ordnance Department. These were funded by individual units. And as a result, several hundred of these were ordered up through about 1943, and then all production stopped to focus on 45 caliber 1911s. Obviously, the war effort required larger quantities of the 45. But again, in 1945, in the beginning of 1945, there was a contract let to buy 12,000 of the service models.
Okay.
And well, only a few got delivered. Now let's see if we can find a picture of the service model all assembled. Oh, there we are. How about that?
Hey, we got lucky.
Yeah, yeah. And this one was shipped to the Navy in July of 1945. So it barely made it into the end of the war.
Yeah.
Barely. So now there are conversion kits that were ordered fundamentally by the Marines. It's called the 2245 conversion. And it allowed you to put the service model ACE slide and barrel assembly and the magazine into the standard 1911. So you can have a kit. Now there were only I think 500 or 600 kits manufactured, and of course after the war there were enough spare parts that Colt went ahead and assembled I think a couple of thousand, and in fact Colt remanufactured the service model. I believe it was in the late 60s, early 70s, and today you can buy conversion kits from various manufacturers. So the service model proved to be a fairly successful firearm for the both the military and for civilian use. But most of them are, like I said, civilian use.
Okay. Yeah. Getting back to the floating chamber, I think where we've talked about that on this channel is in relation to the Remington Speedmaster, which was famously able to cycle short, long, and long rifle in a semi-auto. And its predecessor, the 550 and 550-1, same operation, just different furniture. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody who's watching and is thinking, floating chamber. Where have I heard that? And that's where a lot of people will be familiar with that mechanism. So,
well, one of the drawbacks to the floating chamber is after so many rounds, it will begin to carbon up and it will stick. So you do have to clean them periodically. They're not trouble free. And one thing I'd like to point out is that if you have an ACE, the ACE is almost immeasurably, but it is smaller than a 1911. You cannot put an ACE slide on a standard 1911. It's too short. It's a 1/4 inch short. Actually, I guess you can put it on there, but it's going to look a little bit weird because the overall length of the slide for the ACE is about, I think it's right at a 1/4 inch shorter.
okay.
And the slide is also at the top is a little bit narrower. Why that is, I do not know.
Okay. That is interesting. I've heard about the Ace, and I've never shot one myself. But um, thank you for sharing the history of that. The 22 1911 gallery guns, I guess you call them, or a
Yes.
trainer. Um, yeah, that's. I think another person that probably knows a bit about that would be Mike Baker over at TGCA.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've had a couple conversations with him about those this past year. Um, so yeah, Nick, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to visit with us today. Uh, I'd ask everybody to go check out Houston Gun Collectors Association, and if you can, make their show in October.
Yes, please do. We'd be delighted to have as many people come as we can afford to pack into the room. But thank you very much for the opportunity to share this information about the gallery pistols and just to be on your program.
Yeah, thank you. We will do it again soon. And until then, Nick, have a wonderful day and God bless.
You too.